All right, folks, forget your morning coffee because today's guest will kick you into gear, literally. We've got Shahar Sorek from Overwolf, an international taekwondo champion who's turning game mods into advertising gold mines faster than you can say game over. We're diving into how Overwolf is slipping ads into your favorite game mods and why the future of advertising is all about those sweet, sweet pixels. Brace yourselves, because Shahar's about to drop some serious knowledge bombs with a roundhouse kick of gamer flair. Let's get into it.
Deserve to win when it matters most. Facing multi-billion-dollar bet the company litigation? No problem. That's why we're here. Troutman Amin, LLP, is a true legal powerhouse.
Welcome to the ADOTAT Show. I'm Pesach Lattin, and today we're diving into the gaming gold rush with Shahar Sorek, the wizard of gaming bucks at Overwolf. We're unpacking how to make serious coin in the world's virtual hotspots where many just can't cut it. Gear up for a wild ride into the gamer's den and the secrets into cashing out in those joystick jockeys. All right, let's skip to the fluff. How's the madhouse of ad tech spinning you these days? Is it a nonstop freak show of campaign clicks? How have you not tossed your cookies yet?
Great question. Basically, I'm hanging on. I'm hanging on. I'm seeing where the current goes, experimenting with all sorts of ways to curb the various currents. I think that there's a few things that are happening. First, in the last year, one would say the last 2 years, we've had a major downturn just in ad spend and the ability to monetize via ads. We've seen on our platform, there's 40 to sometimes 50% drops in CPMs and just the ability to make the same type of revenue we've been making for ads. And for us, because we're user-generated ecosystem, sort of a marketplace for creations for games, we focused on negating that with increasing the attractiveness of our products and our offerings so we can raise the level of engagement in the platform, and we've been successful at doing that. So today we're around 43 million monthly active users. We grew that steadily year over year in an attractive way, and that managed to kind of curb a lot of what's happening in the ad tech business.
So let's get real. Gaming isn't just another ad playground. It's the Madison Avenue of the metaverse. Overwolf has been smashing it, doubling your ad cash flow in a single year by slipping ads into game mods. What is the secret sauce that's transforming these mods from simple toys into heavyweight marketing champs?
Okay, so I'm going to go to 50,000 feet. There is a massive, and you've kind of stated it, but I want to reiterate it. There is a massive migration of ad dollars into the gaming world, and we're going to see that trend continue. So, let's say we have around $800 to $900 billion worth of digital spend yearly. We're going to see that number rise, and hundreds of millions from that number are going to go into games and digital spend. So the opportunity in games is massive. What we've managed to do in Overwolf is create a profession for those who create mods and creations in and around games. That could be an overlay, it could be a mod, it could be a private server. And we managed to do that a lot by inserting ads into those creations. And that's a very unique play because the types of games that Overwolf serves are AAA games. These are games where the type of gamer, I call them the golden gamers, play them. The golden gamers are obsessed gamers. These are, call it 700 million PC gamers that just can invest in build a rig, build a big PC or console, and be engaged with it for hours and hours. And they don't like their game interrupted. They don't like ads in their game. So the chances of a brand or any type of advertising agency to get into those games is very, very limited. The one thing they can do is do direct activations with those games, and some of the big brands do, which are great, but they're one-offs. You work 6 months.
And they're extremely expensive. To do an activation on Fortnite is sometimes millions of dollars.
Right. So, and you'll see, I just saw Prada do something with Ubisoft, and you'll see the big brands do it, but you're talking 6 months of production. They need to build the thing out. They need to bring traffic to it. It looks great. The numbers are great, but that's it. You don't have a constant way to engage these brands. And what we've done is we have sort of created a bridge through UGC for ads and brands and gamers. Gamers, because they download everything that happens on the Overwolf ecosystem for free, they get a product that they love to play with alongside their game, kind of like a companion that benefits or enhances their gameplay. And we put ads in it. They understand somebody from the gaming community created this because that's what happens. An avid gamer creates something that he thinks or she thinks might be a great add-on. And we help them do that. And then we monetize that for everybody involved via ads. So the gamer is tolerant for that because they're seeing one of their own create something that they love. Everything's for free. And they understand they're going to get paid. And this kind of is a win-win situation. We don't need to deal directly with the game itself because we're not in the game. But in the PC worlds, these add-ons are, a substantial enhancement sometimes to the gameplay. So players play with them constantly. So we are able to infuse those with ads and in that way get into the game in a way that nobody else really can. So the more we see this trend of going into games and the more we're successful in enriching our inventory, I think that we're poised to be one of the dominant players in this space.
How do you manage to serve up ads that actually enhance the game experience? How are they shown in the mods?
Okay, so there's several ways to do that. I'm going to talk about overlays.
Right.
When we talk about user-generated content, there's so many ways to do it. And we're talking about from making nails and dresses in The Sims, for instance, to building completely world and game experiences in private servers. So Overwolf has a very unique value proposition around game overlays, where you play League of Legends or Valorant, or PUBG, and you can go to the Overwolf App Store and download a tracker or a screen recorder. So let's say you want to record the screen as you're playing. And we run as an overlay in the game or as a second screen. And in high key moments, when something is happening in the game, we put a relevant ad on. So we can run a competition like we did with Pringles the other week, where certain achievements in the game, Pringles comes on, gives you a bonus, you see the brand, and it interacts in your game in a relevant way. So not only do you see the brand, but the brand gives you something. And
how did that Pringles ad do? For example, did gamers seem to like it?
Very well. Or, for instance, we did a campaign with Universal last year on Five Nights at Freddy, which was the #1 grossing horror movie in the States.
Which is like a video game also.
Right.
I know. I unfortunately have a son who's a gamer, and he took it from me. I made my first million in gaming. So I'm an old gamer.
Right. I first of all, as a long life gamer, I think that's a good thing playing games, but that's another conversation. Maybe we'll dive into it now. But I think that with Five Nights at Freddy's, for instance, what we did is in our outplayed overlay with League of Legends, whenever your party escaped or died, Freddy would come on screen on our overlay. But you're playing with it constantly, so you're seeing it as you're engaging the game. And that makes the engagement so much more relevant. So imagine when you die, Freddy comes on screen. That's super relevant to the movie. That's super relevant to the player. It's done in a way that's kind of quirky and funny. So what you have is kind of the gamer.
But you're not interrupting during the actual game. So during gameplay, they don't have to worry that in the middle of they're about to, kill somebody with their BFG that they're not going to have this pop-up. It's cutscenes and stuff. Okay.
So it's important to say that us at Overwolf, we're gamers. So we built this thing and we built this product out of understanding there's a way to interact with highlights. And this is one of the products, but it's let's say the sexiest one. You can interact in a flow state moment without interrupting gameplay. So we designed the product to interfere with ads when you die, when you're in the lobby, when certain moments happen, and it's going to be tolerable. And that makes brand experiences a whole other thing because we're managing to do something in an active, you're participating with the game and you're participating in some moment that is significant to you, even a loss, even when you're the last, depending on the brand and the type of activation we want to do. And we manage to insert that into the experience and that has high value. And we see that, we see it when we compare and we run surveys to see how the brand awareness and brand sentiment and all sorts of things change for the brand when we do that.
Yeah, I think the interesting part, if listeners should pay attention to, is that gamers don't want to be interrupted. And if they are interrupted in any way whatsoever, they're going to even uninstall the game or uninstall the mod. Gamers are very picky about this stuff.
When you get to golden gamers, when you get to those who pay premium dollars to get the game, $60, $70 now, running ads in that is unacceptable. So for instance, Baldur's Gate, which was the #1 game of the year last year, You're not going to have it, which costs $60. The small package. Buy that one if you want to play it, and I highly recommend to play it. You can't run ads there, but you know what you could do? You could go to Overwolf and download an overlay map, and that's going to have ads in it. And Baldur's Gate will be fine with it, and everybody's fine with it. And in that sense,
what's your biggest download?
League of Legends.
And why is that? You think?
On the overlay business. On the mod side, It's Minecraft mods. Minecraft, Sims, World of Warcraft. That's mods. But overlays is League of Legends. That's the most popular game. It's the biggest esport game. It's super competitive. And some of the overlays we offer are a massive help to players. Because some of them, for instance, when you play competitive, you're talking about people who play 10 to 12 hours a day daily. They want to get up the charts. They want to win the tournaments. And it's a huge community.
And now there's a lot of money. I mean,
there's a lot of money in it. Right.
Won a few $1,000s on Fortnite. I had no idea he was doing it.
Exactly. And then you download an overlay that runs all the stats as you're playing, tells you death to kill ratio, who did what. You're like getting constant BI intelligence through the ads, because Overwolf has a real-time telemetry tech stack that reads real-time events in games, in and around games, which allows us to then build on it all sorts of applications. Like I said, screen recording, stat tracking, all sorts of things. And that's very lucrative, and that's very engaging. So by far that one, but there's, it's in the millions already. So it's all very successful. It depends on the game and the type of application that it supports.
How do you plan to scale this up to fulfill the needs of all these advertisers?
A great question. So first of all, it's teaming up with more creators to build more relevant overlays and trackers. That's one thing. But overlays and trackers is one side of the business. It's also increasing our footprint inside games and mods in general via our curseforge.com website, which is the leading website for Minecraft and World of Warcraft and mods. And also working with game studios, which we're doing right now, working with some of the biggest studios to be their engine for content creation when it comes to creators. And these things together kind of bring together an ecosystem that supports growth.
So what, if you could gaze into your crystal ball, what does the future of game advertising look for you?
We managed to dominate the space of user-generated content. And we figure out how to offer more products into the free creations. And we figure out how to scale that up tremendously. We're already at a 50 million and growing, but we're talking about scaling it up to hundreds of millions.
What is the pushback you get from creators? I can win a little bit onto the Steam forums and stuff, and the average person appreciates getting the mods, but there were some people who complained. Like, how do you deal with those complainers?
Well, we have a moderation and curation team that tries to kind of speak with the relevant ones. I mean, trolling is trolling, and it will always exist, but some of the complaints are relevant, and they help us kind of build and strengthen our platform. We try to engage fairly with any and all complaints and solve them as well. And I hope those keep coming in a sane way. And I think that we're in a much better place today than, let's say, we were 6 years ago, where the platform was much younger and more not as tight as it is now.
Giants like Procter & Gamble and streamers like Hulu have engaged in game advertising. What's the magnet that pulls these heavy hitters to your platform, and how do you customize the pitch for each industry titan?
That's we have a team that knows advertising and has worked with these folks before. And what we try to do is create some sort of a bundle of unique type of activations and a basket of media offerings. So you could advertise, there's all sorts of products on the Overwolf platform. And we try to do one of those moments or tournaments or activations that are relevant to a particular brand. For instance, a while back we did an activation with Dawn dishwashing set, where they have a wildlife foundation that saves wildlife awareness around. They wanted to come to us and change awareness around their wildlife and pick up awareness and contributions to their wildlife foundation. And we did a whole activation with the modders in Minecraft, where we tell them, you build unique environments that are clean environments that show how you clean the environment, and we'll run an activation competition. It was extremely successful.
You can't fireball the birds in that mod, I assume.
No, you cannot. It just shows it's wonderful. I think it's online somewhere. You could see it. It won some awards where people created the most amazing environments, and it's a feel good call to action and something really people align to. So, for instance, that will not work for, let's say, a monster, right? So you need to build a different type of activation. So the creative team kind of figures out what's unique to your brand and how to tailor suit the best activation, and then there's all sorts of supporting products in terms of media buying and all sorts that come together to bring kind of a holistic offer to the table.
What about, considering the wild, unpredictable nature of game content, how does Overwolf ensure a safe harbor for brand reputation?
So we have a moderation and curation team, and that's one of the things that make us unique in the market, where we have kind of like this 3-tier moderation curation approach, where there's a team of actual eyeballs and people that look at content, and then there's automations that check out for viruses and all sorts of malicious content. And then there's a community that we build that checks on top of that what's going on. And that ensures nothing bad happens when it comes to UGC. And of course, we sit with a brand and we see exactly what they care about, and then we configure that into an offering that is tight and solid and safe.
So I noticed a little bit about you personally, that you are the 3-time Taekwondo champion of Israel. Is that correct?
I was.
4-time.
Of course.
You
when I was
were the
young.
4-time.
5 times, but it doesn't matter.
5 times? No one's counting, right?
No one's counting. It doesn't really matter. I was in my youth a martial artist, and
Right.
My teenage years I was a 4 times national champion, and after my service won the championship again. It's been something that I've done for decades. I haven't been doing it in the last decade. My martial arts focused around making children and surviving in the world. But it's something that has been there for many, many decades and years. I also had gyms and I taught people, and it's always in the background. I say everything is martial arts, everything.
So how do you channel that mindset into navigating the competitive landscape of the gaming world?
So I think it's not only the gaming world, it's in general. I think that in when you do martial art, well, anything you do has gears to it. Like this conversation is right now on 4th, 5th gear out of 6.
Right.
6th gear being really crazy fast, where we're exchanging really fast ideas, but we could go really slow now. And I could adjust myself and my tone and my presentation to a slower pace. And I think that in the world of gaming or any type of arena of business, you need to have a full handle on all the gears. And what martial art teaches you is to go low very strong and high very strong, which sometimes you need to break something, right? Sometimes you need to penetrate the industry with something. And you need to be, if you're a competitive martial artist, you are taught to look at the arena and your components and your opponents and understand where are your strengths and weak spots. That state of mind and that way of thinking, you allocate to whatever business vertical you're in. In the games move fast. So it depends exactly on what's happening. You need to come up with solutions and do sometimes crazy moves to get ahead or to not get derailed. And I think that sort of being in corners, needing to, explode and moving forward. And it's not just about me. I'm just a guy. I have a whole team of extremely talented people that work with me. And it's mostly about knowing how to rally everybody up to pierce and penetrate, some sort of a target that or a concept or a creative or a campaign, and get everybody going and rolling. And also knowing, okay, I got to pull it back, slow down, rest a bit, then go again. There's a
you
lot
ever
of,
use the puffy nunchucks on anyone?
I not physically, but verbally for sure.
So you have over 165,000 creators. Notice the user-generated content isn't just the feature, it's the cornerstone. What is the grand vision for the future of UGC in the gaming world?
So I think the gaming world is going through a massive transition now, and there's something I call the it's not kind of the UGC apocalypse. I borrow the metaphor.
It's not death and...
It's not death. First of all, it's demand. The market demands UGC. Okay, so because of games and platforms like Roblox and Epic with Fortnite and Minecraft and us, there's a huge demand for user-generated content at large, and it became kind of an industry standard. When Roblox went in their IPO and they hit $50 billion valuation, people said, okay, UGC is the thing, because Roblox isn't making a game. It's just allowing other people to express themselves and create UGC on their platform. But not only Roblox is doing it, now a slew of games are doing it. And game studios, which were averse to UGC because they said, we worked years on this, we poured hundreds of millions of dollars on this IP, we don't want anybody touching it, understood that with that demand, they need to open up their gates.
Yeah, I think I read somewhere that double digits of people on Fortnite don't actually play the game ever.
Right.
They just do content with their friends.
Right. 50% of Fortnite.
And that's amazing.
It's a massive number. So this is something that is different than how my generation gamed or how your generation gamed. So I say once in game one, let's split the game eras into 1, 2, and 3. In game one, people played solo games. They bought a game, they played, they still do. That's game one.
Right.
Game two is multiplayer games, playing with groups. And game three is creation. People like to create things and then have their friends kind of deal and mess around with that. And I think that shifted the mindset. So one thing is demand from the market. The other thing is just growth. Gaming is growing constantly, and the world is moving into entertainment and sociability inside games. And we're going to see that move. So that's the second horseman. The third one is standardization. There's platforms like us, Roblox and UEFN and Epic that are standardizing the way for creators to just onboard and allowing for IPs to engage them. And the number 4 thing is tools. It goes to AI and all sorts of things that really drop down the raft for creation. So today, a single team, a single person or a small team could create things that once needed a huge team. And those 4 horsemen, alongside market trends, so user acquisition is very high. So games must find other outlets to retain and justify their massive spend on user acquisition. And the best way is UGC. So what we're seeing now is some games starting to open up to UGC. Most notably is our cooperation now with a game called Ark Survival Ascended, which is both on PC and console, running cross-platform, cross-play mods for the first time ever, meaning you can download a mod on PC and I can download one on console and we'll play in the same instance, allowing modders to upload mods automatically to the game via Overwolf, which is, again, the first time. And a month ago, also for the first time, premium mods for sale by small studios that are developing DLC downloadable content, downloadable level content for ARCs. New monetization models, existing pathways. There's going to be a lot of growth when it comes to UGC. All major studios are going to do something about UGC. All studios will. And some of them will do it with us. Some of them will do it on their own. But it's going to be a big thing moving forward. It's going to be one of the main driving engines of the industry, of the game industry.
Do you have any examples of how UGC extended the life and popularity of games on Overwolf?
Well, I think that if you look at Minecraft in particular, so on Minecraft alone, we have north of 50 billion downloads of mods in the last couple of years. And Minecraft has also private servers where people kind of spin up their own game, Minecraft themed, on private servers, meaning they also have a shop and monetize in it. And in total, it's a huge industry. I can't go into the numbers, but they're very high. We're talking about revenues in hundreds of millions for, 21-year-old kids or 18-year-old kids sometimes. And sometimes it's very small in age, very capable technically, generating content that tens of millions of people consume. Another good example is the modding scene on GTA 5, which Overwolf has a subsidiary called Tebex, a company we bought a few years ago, which is the payment processing on all the private servers. So we basically process all the funds coming in for private servers for the creators. So one of the biggest communities is the 5M community, which is the biggest community of modding for GTA 5, which is massive. So when you go to Twitch and you see GTA 5 right there at the top, 1, 2, 3, depending on the week in terms of hours watched, what people are watching are the modded version, not the game itself.
Right.
So you have modders driving a lot of engagement and creativity at large in all sorts of verticals. And our job is to help all of that grow and to standardize it and help the studios accept it and also guard the studios from bad actors, because that's a big deal for the studios. a big deal for UGC at large to be able to be the sheriff, kind of the sheriff of the UGC ecosystem.
So what measures are in place, speaking of being a sheriff, to protect the intellectual property rights in a complex environment like game modding?
Yeah, so I kind of mentioned it before, where we have that 3-layer moderation curation stack, where we have a team in-house that have been doing it for a decade, checking everything, and then we have automated tests, and then we have Discord and Slack creator communities that go through things, because it's in everybody's interest, especially once money is involved, which is kind of what we always saw as Overwolf as the key component. We thought modding should be a profession. In-game creation, as we call it, is a profession. It's not a hobby. It's something you should make money from. If you're doing something that 100 million people downloaded, you should get compensated. We came up with 100%. A business model that justifies that. And once you do that, a lot of the actors align because there's economic interests. A lot of, or some of the competitors in the sidelines, we don't really have a competitor per se, but some of our verticals have small players, don't have that thinking in mind. And you could see immediately how it's unsustainable. Because the best way to govern a system is, first of all, put incentivizations that make sense for everybody, and then also put, the proper guards in the proper places. But then the actors themselves who are interested and are profiting from the ecosystem are also acting as guards. So it's kind of this, flywheel.
So what about advertiser insights? Do you have any special tech that helps you mine deep insights that matter to your partners?
So we have unique eyes on certain properties. We've been very careful with that, and that's a tricky subject because gamers don't like to be probed, and we are taking extra caution with selling of data or engaging data, but we do have all sorts of interesting kind of deductions we can do on our platform. For instance, we know what machine you're using, and we're talking about usually very capable. We know exactly what computer you're using, what's your ping, where you're at. So there's a lot of things we can deduct just from how you game. Forget who you are and all that kind of really personal stuff. Just the basic thing that makes you interact on our platform.
So tell me, what's the weirdest ad request you've ever had to turn down at Overwolf? Any bizarre plugs that made you go, you want to do now? I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, no. Listen, first of all, we're a clean place. There's no drugs, alcohol, tobacco, porn. We have turned down a lot of crypto.
Really? Why?
We just don't think our gamers would like to watch that stuff, For us, the AAA gamers, nothing to say bad on that industry as a whole. It's just gamers, the golden gamers don't like crypto. They think it's a scam. So if I'm going to serve a crypto as great as that game or as great as that crypto product can be, I'm basically damaging the Overwolf brand. So anything that the gamers don't like, we're just not going to put. We are going to try to work with brands that have value. And there's a lot. We're talking about luxury brands also. We're talking about food. We're talking about sportswear. We're talking about sometimes style. We're talking about, if we go to the Sims world, there's all sorts of things that make sense. And there's a whole lot of things that don't.
So what's your most controversial opinion about where gaming needs to go? Is there any sacred cows that you're ready to barbecue?
I think that there is one place that is going to come, which is going to, I don't know if it's sacred or non-sacred. It's going to be impactful. I don't know yet in what way. When you say you had a kind of negative connotation to your question, so I don't know if that exists in there, but we are a short while away from AI being able to be a companion for you as a gamer and for you in real life. You could really create somebody you would consider a person. And there's a great need in games for that feature.
For NPCs, especially, right?
Yeah. Right. I'm not talking of NPCs as well, about people that play inside the game. I'm talking about some character that is with you in the game, outside the game, that can talk to you about what you did, that you can upload, and they're just like a buddy.
Right.
There's already apps like that out there. They just hasn't made the connection to the game world. And in the game world, there's many times where you play AI to practice. AI takes a big part of gaming as a practice tool or as a pseudo competition adversary, but it hasn't made the leap into that feels like that's a real person. And I think that we're on the cusp of doing that, and that's going to be a big game changer. And a lot of things can develop from that are controversial, groundbreaking, positive, negative.
So if I could make you the supreme overlord of the internet for a day, what's the first rule that you'd enforce to make online advertising less of a dumpster fire?
Wow, that's a tough question. As a person, there's so many things I would want to shut down, which aren't something ads. I mean, I think that as we move forward, as a general note, advertisers will need to really spend money on things that have value. And that will bring advertisers to do things and spend on things they haven't done before. Because I think that people have been taking advantage of. I don't know if they're taking advantage of. I mean, the rules of the game allowed for ads to come on TV and to come on social networks and to come on just about everywhere they can. And I think that there's a lot of pushback on a lot of these things. And consumers, especially the new ones, aren't going to be interested in 60, 70% of the ads running today on TV, radio, whatever. And brands are they're going to be a time where it's going to be extremely painful for brands to make mistakes on where they run themselves and how they run themselves.
So do you have a Yoda in your life that taught you the dark arts of advertising?
Actually, I don't. The Yodas I have in my life or had in my life or still have, my wife is a Yoda, or still have in my life.
I want to tell her that.
Yeah.
It's not a Hallmark card.
Exactly. Are from the martial art world. Some of them were philosophers or Zen practitioners or just hardcore martial artists. And that gave me a lot of my insights into many of the things I do. Because basically, I haven't always been in the advertising world. I was a founder and a CEO. I was an actor. I was a martial artist. I lived in Israel. I was born in Israel. I lived in the States. Each decade I did something else, but I applied the same rules and the same kind of things that I saw that work deeply in the martial art world, in other arenas, and in the game world as well. Hence, I encourage your son to play, depending on the game. But I think that the games, specifically the AAA games, have a lot of lessons to teach us in terms of how to engage the world.
You practice mindfulness?
I do.
How has that helped you think, in the business world?
Well, in the business world, there's a lot of reciprocation with just actions that come your way. There's many things that come your way, and you're easy to react to them. And what mindfulness does is it allows you to put a barrier between something that basically you are a bit more aware, depending on your level of practice, to the bias of your own operating system. So you can have a stronger critical mind against something that will be more of your preference, and you'll have more of a conviction to go on sometimes on a whim that doesn't necessarily make sense, but for some reason, something aligned here for you. So there's two parts of it. It's like sixth gear, where you're like, we're doing this, and everybody's like, what the hell are you talking about? And before they even finish, you're already going on the thing. And nobody understands it. And only when you come out of the other side, they go, that makes sense. So if you do a few of these successfully, you become like this advertiser. Although all you're doing is you're trying to kind of piece out these algorithms that are flying around, and you're quietly sitting there and you're going, this. Versus everybody's jumping, something comes out, the house is burning, and you're, guys, let's just take a breath. Let's just center ourselves. The market's reacting. Let's figure out exactly what's the appropriate way to react to it. Now's the time to go to the number one. Don't scramble around, which is hard to do. And mindfulness really helps you with all that. It helps to create that barrier between, I guess, trigger and response. Where do you see the
gaming ad industry in 10 years?
I think it's going to grow tremendously. I think we're going to see things that aren't happening right now. I mean, UGC is just a vertical we're in, and we're doing a lot of work in, but something will need to be figured out about ads penetrating game in a more robust way. I think some of that will have to do with new monetization schemes that have to do, maybe live op games are going to be more susceptible to starting with these things. But the brands, it won't be just an ad. It would need to be an ad and something. So way more consistent sponsorship with a yearly, with a quarterly cadence of a big brand. Instead of these one-off activations, we'll start to see a lot more regularity and planning ahead in working with games. And I think that the content creators, YouTube, TikTok, and Twitch are going to play a massive role in that as well.
So before we go, I'd like to ask people if you could send yourself a text message to your younger self when you start in the industry, what would you tell yourself?
Great question. I think I've pretty much, I don't have any, in this industry, I don't have anything I would do different.
Right.
I think that if I would tell it to a young person, I would just be, go all in and be as adaptable as you can. Be malleable to the changes, but always go all in. Forget failure. Fail hard, but just go all in and practice just giving your heart to something and hard work and dedication. I think that's good for anything, yeah, but I think that what people lack is people don't recover well from crashes. It's a hard thing. Again, mindfulness, martial arts. Part of sometimes what makes martial art win is their ability to take more hits. It's not going to go into Israel and all that as well, which that applies as well. But that's a big theme about surviving and staying on top of the game, is being able to wither the blows. So it's wither the blows and then go all in. It's kind of that, let it go, try again. Let it go, try again. All in, let it go. That balance.
And that's a wrap, folks. Huge thanks to Shahar Sorek for kicking our brains into high gear and showing us how game mods are the next advertising goldmine. A big shout out to our sponsor, Troutman Amin LLP, keeping the lights on and the mics hot with their legal wizardry. Don't forget, if you're navigating the wild world of ad tech, they've got your back. Stay curious, stay bold, and know more than you did yesterday. Catch you next time on the ADOTAT Show.